So when you have a look at the Bitcoin power law in a different currency, like the Argentinian peso, for example, the Bitcoin power law has already broken. What does this tell us about the Bitcoin power law when we look at it in a US dollar chart? Well, today we're going to be having a look at why all of these other Bitcoin price charts outside of the US dollar actually show that the Bitcoin power law has already broken. We're not only just going to be looking at the charts, though, we're also going to be having a look at my most recent debate with the creator of the power law and Fred Krueger that I was lucky enough to engage in a little bit of a friendly back and forth with Giovanni and Fred, where I asked Giovanni this exact question. So let's jump straight into my question about why we should not, or why we cannot actually have a look at the power law in currencies outside of the US dollar. Some of you guys might have missed this debate. It was a fun one. It was really great fun. I enjoyed it. But I'm going to try to play the question where I tried to ask this question to the creator of the power law himself. I feel like we're going to see a different regime in the next few years. And my biggest question, I don't fully understand scale and variance. So I'm just going to put that out there as the disclosure. But what I look at is the power law in Argentina, in Argentinian pesos, which is already broken down.
We're going to get to that one. We're going to get to that one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
let's keep on going. I just want to keep the thing focused.
Okay, so we didn't quite get to that question, the question that I tried to ask. But my question was going to be, why has the Argentinian peso Bitcoin chart not shown a power law, or even in the Turkish lira, or in the Lebanese pound? Why do we not see a Bitcoin power law in any of these different charts? Let me show you guys what I mean for those who might not be keeping up. So this is the Bitcoin power law when we have a look at Bitcoin priced in US dollars. As you can see, when you chart the Bitcoin price in time on a log scale, so that means the price is in a log chart as well as the time, both are in log scale, we can see that the Bitcoin power law perfectly shows a power law, okay? You can see that, what is it, like a 99% fit to the data? That's the math that we're constantly told to focus on. We have a very tight fit. But the math that we're told to ignore and maybe not focus on is when we have a look at different kind of charts. So this here is Bitcoin priced in the Nigerian Naira. This isn't exactly the best example of the power law breaking down, but in this cool little graphic put out there by Balaji, we can see better examples of lots of these different currencies, you know, in their Bitcoin charts breaking down, and clearly not power laws, okay? The first being Laos or Lebanon, for example, clearly not a power law. Nigeria, clearly not a power law. We can also see Turkey, clearly not a power law. Argentina, 100% not a power law, okay? So again, this kind of gets to the question of things. Why are we not seeing power laws in these other fiat currencies? Why is it only in US dollars? Does this mean the power law is broken? Does this mean the power law is debunked? Let's dive a little bit deeper. And while we dodged the topic or didn't quite explore the topic in depth in this friendly power law debate that I had the pleasure of being a part of, I did find Giovanni refer to the power law on a tweet. So again, I want to do Giovanni lots of credit. Big fan of his work and his research. He has lots of research and lots of data. So I want to try to give his side of the argument and explanation for why we don't see power laws. So I found this tweet and I looked very, very hard all across Twitter for Giovanni's explanation for why we don't see power laws in other currencies. You can see it's a very common question that he does commonly get asked. We can see Art Anderson asking about this here on Twitter. Inflation could be a factor in the future if we enter hyperinflation. Have you checked the power law for Bitcoin versus the currencies of Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Argentina, Sudan, and Turkey? And Giovanni said no, but I will do that given it is asked all the time. So as you can see, this is a very common question that gets asked of the power law guys. And it's one of my biggest concerns and questions surrounding the power law. Maybe something that just keeps me a little bit more skeptical. So we can see here, Giovanni answers this question. This is on Twitter. So Giovanni put out a really great tweet, cool graphic, cool image. And then this guy called Relentless Gains says, curious, does this power law for BTC only work when denominated in US dollars? What about the different currencies such as Argentinian pesos, Nigerian naira, where the BTC price in these currencies are much higher? Thanks. So Giovanni said, power laws work when inflation is stable. So if you start to have something inflationary, then it is not a power law. And it is about the inflationary currency. So I think Giovanni's saying that as inflation passes a certain point, the price of Bitcoin in that currency, it becomes more about the very weak currency as opposed to the power law, which is, yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to talk about it more in a second. Because I thought the power law was this magical thing that always held up, but I'm going to leave that to the side for a moment. Let's continue reading the rest of this answer. Giovanni says, it is like I'm telling you gravity works and makes an object go down. Then you asking about it in a hurricane. Yeah, a cow can fly during a hurricane. Did you see the logical fallacy there? So maybe I did it. Maybe I missed the fallacy a little bit. I don't know how that is an explanation explaining why power laws only work in currencies that aren't inflationary, because I think all fiat currencies are inflationary, all of them. So I'm interested in knowing the cutoff of where inflation gets too much, that it breaks the power law, because I would like to know this in the future. And I'm sure lots of people around the world might want to know this, because obviously there could be lots of people in Argentina, Venezuela, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, living under these fiat currencies that aren't following power laws, who would like to know, okay, when does my local domestic inflation reach a point that the power law is no longer predictive, like we're told it is predictive? So that's an interesting question that I would like to know. Thought I'd make a video about it, looking at this question of power laws in more detail, because I have had the pleasure of engaging in this very friendly, very healthy debate with Giovanni and Fred. And I have also had the pleasure of interviewing both Fred and Giovanni myself, where I gave them the floor. So if you missed either of those interviews, you can actually find them here on the channel. You can see here's our debate with, here's our friendly discussion, I should say, with Giovanni. And we also had Fred on about a month ago as well to talk about the power law. So if you do want to learn a little bit more about the power law, you can check those interviews out. But I haven't come across an argument that actually explains why the power laws should be trusted in US dollars and when it will not be trusted in US dollars. Because this is another question that I haven't seen answered. When does the power law actually break? I've seen other people say, okay, if the power law goes to $1.5 million, doesn't that break the power law? Well, it doesn't if the price temporarily comes back down and touches the upper bands of the power law. So I'm also struggling to see a scenario when the power law breaks. When does a power law break? Does it have to stay above the bands for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? Or if it temporarily comes down and wicks onto the upper band, does that mean the power law was alive the whole time? I'm not sure, but I think it's an interesting topic I wanted to do a video on today. And we have some interesting questions as well in the chat. Following the Bitcoin power law could be a self-fulfilling prophecy, like an invisible magnet. Self-fulfilling prophecies are incredibly powerful, let me tell you. And also, obviously, placebo effects. They're incredibly powerful, incredibly powerful. I've come across lots of studies where people were told they were given a medicine and they never actually had the medicine, and they magically said they were cured. They were magically feeling better. So self-fulfilling prophecies are incredibly strong, and they're incredibly valid to be aware of. So, hey, maybe the price of Bitcoin in US dollars continues to follow a power law because lots of us think it might in the future. I'm not one of those people, but I'm sure you know what I mean. The crowd thinks that it might follow a power law, so it might follow a power law for a very long time. That's true. Maybe. Not sure. I'm going to tell you guys when I'm not sure or I don't have the data. So we see here, Dan M. Always hated physics. Physics says a wall you lean on actually pushes back at you. Baloney. That's funny. I actually like physics. So I very rarely, but I disagree with you there on that one, Dan. I like physics. I'm not sure about that analogy though. I've never heard it before. It's funny. Let me know if that is true or not. So we got cos. The only graph which makes sense to check in the power law is the gold Bitcoin chart. Not any fiat currency can be stable enough to show any relevant data. I think that's a great comment there by Cos. And something that's even interesting about this chart that you're talking about, gold priced or Bitcoin priced in gold on a power law chart, is eventually that's going to break down because we are going to get so good at getting gold out of asteroids or big rocks floating around our solar planet that eventually the price of gold is literally going to trend to zero a lot quicker than most people think. And that's because our society is getting technologically better and better at things at an exponential rate. Okay. So eventually, even looking at the Bitcoin gold chart in a power law, it's not going to make any sense because the inflation of gold is going to reach a really crazy point. Okay. So again, this is just another reason why power law charts maybe aren't the best maps when, you know, the denominator is changing. Okay. We know that US dollar inflation is going to reach a point in the future where it's not going to make any sense and the power law chart is going to break down. So I think that's all of the questions in the live chart. I would love to hear what you guys think. Let me know in the comments down below. Why has the power law broken in Argentinian pesos or Turkish liras or Nigerian nairas or Lebanese pounds? Does this mean that power laws pricing US dollars are going to break down in the future? I don't know, but it's one of my biggest concerns. And it's one of the questions I would love to get answered. So I would love to hear from you guys, or anyone who believes in the power law would love to hear from you guys. Again, if you do want to learn more about the power law, I would encourage you to check out my friendly discussion with Giovanni and Fred. I've been asked by so many people to share my thoughts about what I thought in that debate. Lots and lots of people asked me about it. So I might do an in-depth, long-form video of my thoughts about that discussion with Fred and Giovanni if you guys want me to do it. And with all that said, I might leave this live stream here. And thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next live stream. I hope this video it spurred a thought, or maybe it got you to think about something new in a different way. Because I think skepticism surrounding models is a good thing. I don't think anyone knows the future. So that's all I'm encouraging, some more thoughts and debates about the topic. So I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and see you in the next live stream.